Also, we're going to use these ingredients that you guys have made up. So that in that soup we're going to have a bed. Could you hold that for me, please, and just stand up here. We're also going to have, we're going to take, we've got a house there by the looks of it. If you could hold that, and stand there. Okay, so we have here all the ingredients of our story soup. Some porridge, a house, a bed, and a rainbow. Now once we've got our story soup in front of us, the first thing we need, the number one thing you need, is a good character. Because if you don't have a good character, well then you've got no other bad stuff to happen to you. Believe it or not, any one of these ingredients can help us to make that good character. For example, we could look at the porridge and say that our character is going to be a woman who really loves porridge. She eats nothing else. She has porridge for breakfast, lunch and dinner. She drinks porridge. She has porridge lollies for her snacks. She really loves porridge. Or we could look at the porridge and say that actually our character is going to be a man who works in a factory where they make porridge. Or we could look at the house and say that our character is going to be a builder, someone whose job is to make houses. Or we could perhaps look at the house and say that actually our character is going to be an artist, someone who paints houses, and people pay him to come and paint their house. Or we could look at the bed and say that our character is going to be perhaps a carpenter, someone whose job is to make beds and things for people. Or we could look at the bed and say that our character is going to be a very, very, very old man who hasn't got out of his bed for about 36 years. He stayed in bed that whole time. So you see, any one of these ingredients can help us to create the character. Who would like to tell me which ingredient I should use for my character this afternoon? The porridge, the house, the bed, or the rainbow? Your hand is up quick, yeah?
The bed.
The bed, okay, well I really liked the idea of that man who had been in bed for 36 years, okay, been in bed for 36 years. That's going to be the character then, and our bad thing can come from any of the ingredients we've got left. For example, we could look at the house and say that the bad thing is going to be that the old man's house starts to fall down, but he's never got out of bed before, so, well, if it's falling down, how's he going to be able to actually move? He's stuck in bed. Or maybe we could look at the house and say that actually the bad thing is going to be that somebody wants to get rid of this old man because they want to build some new houses in the place where he lives. So they're trying to get him out of his bed and get him out of the town, maybe. Or we could look at the porridge and say that the bad thing is going to be that the old man is starting to get so weak that he can't eat his porridge properly and it spills all over his bed and then it starts to smell and it starts to get really disgusting and he's only going to be able to get clean again if he gets out of bed. Or maybe actually we could look at the porridge and say that the bad thing is going to be that one of his friends who comes to stay with him in his house has some porridge which has been poisoned by someone who doesn't like him. And of course that person can't move anymore, so the old man's going to have to get out of his bed for the first time in 36 years in order to try and help his friend. So you see, any of these three things can help us to make our bad thing. Who'd like to tell me which of those three things we should use to make our bad thing this afternoon? Yeah. The porridge? Okay, well, I quite liked the idea of the friend who's come around to stay, who has eaten some poison porridge, and, well, our old man's going to have to get out of bed if he wants to help his friend. Just like with the beautiful girl and Little Red Riding Hood, I'm now going to have a go at telling this story to see if it works. Here we go. There was once a very old man, and he was so old, he hadn't got out of his bed for 36 years. That's right, he'd spent all of that time in his bed, a whole 36 years. And if the phone would ring, he would stretch an arm out of that bed and he would grab hold of phone, and the person on the other end of the phone, they might say something like, "Hello there, would you like to buy a set of encyclopedias?" Or they might say something like, "Hi there, we are trying to get people to take up a credit card. Would you like a credit card?" Or they might say something like, "Hey, have you seen what's on TV recently?" And his answer would always be the same. "I've been in bed for 36 years." And then they would always hang up. Unless it was one person in particular. This one person in particular was a really good friend to the old man. Because that one person, well, they would phone up and they might say, "Hi there, how are you?" And he would answer, "I've been in bed for 36 years. And they would say, "Oh, that's brilliant." Well, do you know what? I went to the shops yesterday, but one of these conversations ended up with the friend saying, "Do you know what? I think it's about time I came to visit you. I haven't visited you for a while. Shall I come round to visit?" And the old man said, "I've been there 36 years." We're going to try and get that rainbow to go all around the sky. So as my hand passes you, I'd like you to go like that, as if you are a part of the rainbow. But wait for it, because when my hand passes you, we should be able to see that flying through the sky. Ready? And all the way in through the window of the old man's kitchen. And the old man sat up in his bed, looked down at his friend who was on the floor with his tongue sticking out and turning purple. And he said, "I've been in bed for 36 years. He needed to help his friend. So he did the first thing that I'm sure many of you would do. He reached over to the phone. He dialed 999. Over the phone came a voice that said, "Hello there, which service do you require?" And the old man said, "I've been in bed for 36 years. And they said, "Right, fire engine, ambulance, police?" And the old man said, "I've been in bed for 36 years. And the operator said, "Is this some sort of joke?" And the old man replied, "I've been in bed for 36 years. Well, the operator hung up, got his leg, pulled it out of the bed, and dropped it on the floor. He got his other leg, he pulled it out from the bed, and dropped it from the floor. Bed, and he fell on his knees and cried out, "I've been in bed for 36 years. He took one of the lenses from his glasses and shone it down by the corner, and the sunlight was magnified by the glasses, and it started to melt the bricks around the corner of the house. And the whole house started to swing down into the street and down the hill. He quickly got himself back into the house, and seeing that there were people still standing in the street, he shouted out to them, "I've been there for 36 years! To which the people turned around and said, "Can you all try that for me?" So the house slid down the hill with people jumping out the way as it did so. It went all the way down, and the old man tried his best to replicate the sound of an ambulance siren, like this. "I've been in bed for 36 years. Do you want to have a go at that? "I've been in bed for 36 years. And people thought, that's a strange ambulance, until they turned around, saw the house coming towards them, and said, but the house continued to slide down the hill until it shot off up the high street. Old man sat on his doorstep and said, "I've been in bed for 36 years. Please, someone help my friend." And the doctors and the nurses came into the house and they managed to find the antidote to the poison really, really quick. And afterwards, the friend woke up in a hospital bed to find the strangest sight. He had the old man sitting next to him. And the friend said, I really didn't think you'd be able to help me because, well, you've been in bed for 36 years. And the old man said,